Called Sisters. It's just a sketch of two women hugging.
This VSU assistant professor of English
I want to teach myself how to draw more than one face or one individual structure.
is trying her hand at freehand sketching.
I'm always trying to learn something and make myself better.
A passion drawn early in Darlene Anita Scott's life.
So I always saw my mother being creative in that way. I think I imitated her a bit.
Though outside of art,
I was the cousin and the sister who probably was going to be last picked for good reason.
but as an adult, she ran into an unexpected adventure.
A friend suggested that I run a 5K with her, and I was like, you know, I don't like running. And interestingly enough, before I ever ran a 5K, I ran a half marathon, and the rest is history.
A random run-in with a running club
I fell in love with it.
resulted in an immediate love affair.
Physically, it changed my body, but mostly I saw my strength, and seeing that strength gained this confidence that I didn't know I lacked. Ran, I think, 4 marathons in my first year of running marathons. My goal was to run a 50-miler, but I never got there.
In 2016,
I went out for a run. I was like, you're just out of condition, but this is different. I remember knowing it was different than out of condition.
Darlene struggled to keep pace for close to 6 months.
It was a really quick transition between me figuring out something's not quite right and then going to the doctor and then finding out something absolutely was not right.
After a month of tests, the results hit hard.
I'm looking at your results and you have heart failure. I said, excuse me? You know, I needed a moment. I don't think the excuse me was I didn't hear you. I think the excuse me was I need a moment to process all of this. So I'll just say something to buy me some time. Excuse me? And he said, yeah, you have heart failure. I didn't want to tell my parents. How am I going to say those words to them? Because I don't want them to worry about me. And I think out of everything, that was the hardest part of the diagnosis. There was definitely fear because when I heard the words heart failure, I always heard them associated with death. So I was like, wow, I'm too young to be dying, and aren't I?
According to the American Heart Association, the average age when women have their first coronary event is 72. Darlene was only 41.
The next steps were medication and that I was supposed to stop running. I said, so you said you want me to slow down on the running. And I said, so how much we talking, 5 mile? And he said, I mean none.
Darlene's biggest challenge now wouldn't be a race, but her own heart.
At that point, I started to want to know, okay, now we're on medication. Let's figure out why this is happening.
After traveling hundreds of miles to see multiple cardiologists,
It was frustrating because I was like, we don't have time for me to beg you to listen to me. You know, I'm on borrowed time.
still no answers. Until Dr. Kayer Shaw.
If we're talking about patients age 40 and under that are diagnosed with heart disease, I would say that's about 10 to 15% of my cardiology practice.
Section Chief at VCU Poly Heart Center.
As far as the percentage of patients I see who are that athletic, it's very small. Anytime you see a young person with a weakened heart, it does prompt you to ask more questions about why this happened.
Each question eventually led to the answer.
Sarcoidosis is a systemic disease, meaning it can affect multiple organs throughout the body.
The cause of this rare chronic inflammatory disease is still a mystery.
In Darlene's case, by the time I had met her, her sarcoid had affected her heart, weakened the heart function, and was causing arrhythmias.
I was in danger of cardiac arrest. He said, I want you to wear a life vest. A life vest is a external defibrillator.
A 24/7 addition to her wardrobe.
It's a constant reminder of what you're going through.
After various medications, a failed ablation, and other procedures, Darlene had an ICD implanted in June. And a month later, found her footing again.
On July 6th, that morning, I woke up as early as I could. And I still had the big bandage on, and I still had the sling. And I went running like one-armed. And I was like, I'm ready to get back out there.
How did that feel?
Amazing. That one of the most amazing runs I've had. And I think I ran almost 5 miles. And I was like, oh, yes, I'm back.
Heart disease forced Darlene to pause the thing that carried her forward. But in that stillness, she found something else.
Good thing about the art was that for those times that I would usually spend Sunday morning out running,
Strength through her art.
I was able to devote that time to creating.
And purpose in raising her voice.
I was diagnosed with heart failure at the time that I was training for my 7th marathon, what would have been my 7th marathon.
Reminding women that heart failure wears no uniform.
So I want to say thank you to all of you who are here, who believe in this cause.
Advocacy that earned her recognition at this year's American Heart Association Go Red for Women luncheon.
I've been very public facing with this only because I think people should know. Why not you? So if it is you, then what do you do with it? And I hope that I'm a good example of what you can do with it.